Hello, today I am delighted to be speaking with Cesar Quintero, a great friend, amazing entrepreneur, a fabulous human being. We're going to be talking about EOS, the operating system that he's training many companies to use it. We're going to be talking about the different stage of entrepreneurship, and we're going to be talking about the importance of vulnerability. Enjoy listening to my conversation with Cesar Quintero. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. And today I'm extremely excited because not only is he a friend, but he's somebody that I admire a lot, is a true entrepreneur, and he is coaching, advising a lot of people with this operating system called EOS. He is a rock star in the EO. He's a father, a friend, a speaker, somebody that truly love and enjoy meeting and talking to. And I know it's going to be the same for all the listener. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Cesar Quintero.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, me too. Thank you, my friend. And I can't wait for you to share all your knowledge for all the listener and all the business owners, because that's what you do from morning till evening. And you have so much to share. So that's great. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So if we can start maybe by a little bit of your journey, which is a fabulous journey, a true American dream. And as any American dream or any successful people overnight, it took years to build.
Yeah, an overnight success that took like 17 years to build, 100%. But so I'm originally from Venezuela in South America. And at 24, I decided to get married, move to Miami, and start a business all at the same time, because that's what we do at that age. There's no risk at 24, I guess. And so I moved to Miami, and I started a business called Fit to Go. It was in the food delivery space. So we cooked and delivered meals to people in their office. This is 16 years ago, so it's pre-Facebook, pre-Uber Eats, pre all of that. So I had to go door to door and convince people it was convenient to have your meals delivered. So it was, so the business grew with the market, the convenience, the healthy, all of that. And with time, the business kept growing and my employees kept growing, but my time kept going lower and lower. So I was answering phones, I was delivering meals, I was subbing in for people that didn't show up, and all the decision making was coming through me. And I was basically like a chicken without a head or legs. I was a dead chicken at that point. You know how that is in entrepreneurship and building a business. And then I kept growing, but then I realized in 2012 I got hit with a class action lawsuit, and that's when everything kind of like came to a stop. And I was like, whoa, what am I doing? Like, who sues a dead chicken? Like, I have nothing to show for. How do I do it? And it was a big reality check for me because it was a baseless class action. I had to fight it because I had to prove that I had done nothing wrong. And at the same time, I had nothing to show for so many years, 8 years in business. And I was like, what have I done till this point? And that was a big wake up call for me. So something had to change. And in 2012, I went into a journey of self-discovery. I did a purpose discovery through the Simon Sinek method and start with why. I went through, EO and the Entrepreneurs Organization and understanding how to be a better entrepreneur. I went through the MIT master's program. So I started all these things that year, and it became like a year of change. And one of the biggest things that I learned from myself was that I was focused on the wrong things. I understood that my purpose was more external. I wanted to empower others so that they could live the life they want to live. And in my business, I had always been focused on product, process, on service, on the client, and never on my people. I never realized that my purpose was mostly on the people. And I was doing all the things that I was told to do, except the things that really mattered to me. And that's when I started shifting my focus. So I started implementing EOS in my company and different things where it empowered people to make decisions, to take accountability, and to take ownership. Even to the point where we paid all the attorneys off, we grew, we doubled in profit within 2 years, and we did amazing things. But not only that, I sold my business to 2 of my employees. So 2 of my employees eventually bought my business from me, And I started two different businesses that were more aligned with what I love to do, which is empowering others. And one of them is an online university in Latin America for entrepreneurship called Emprendedor University. And the other one is a firm, a local firm in South Florida, that we empower entrepreneurs to evolve by proven systems and different things of people taking people through the same journey I went through. So that way they could also evolve as entrepreneurs. So it's been a highs and lows in different phases, but now I love what I do and the impact it has on people and the impact it has on me. I feel like I'm retired, like a lot of times you say you love going to events and you love the travel and you love all the things. It's like, am I really working?
Right.
Right. But yeah, that's what's taken me to now, to where I am. So I don't know if I took too long or too much of the story, but that's basically my journey in a segment.
And you didn't took too long. And for people that know both of us, I think they would be surprised that you only took 5 minutes and I only asked you one question in this time.
Yes, I am a talker.
Yeah, and welcome to the club. One of the things that you've developed, and obviously you've been through all of them, is the different stage of entrepreneurship. Can you speak a little bit more about that? Because I know all my friends in the meetings and event industry, there are different stage. Some are thinking of selling their business. Some are thinking of buying a business. Some had to reduce their team last year. So what are the different stage? And I think the essence of it for me is really to realize that we are not alone in the situation we are in, regardless of where we are.
Yeah, well, that's interesting you say that, because I started writing a book about my journey, right? And because everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's such a great journey. You should write a book," and the whole thing. And I started writing a book about it, and I started interviewing and talking to a lot of people, and I realized that my journey is not unique at all. I think every entrepreneur goes through kind of the same stages of the journey. So I started seeing a pattern, and through the hundreds of entrepreneurs that I've helped with uncover purpose or implement EOS or do all these things, I realized that we all basically have kind of the same journey. So I was able to map out 5 different stages of entrepreneurship. And it's really, I call it the evolution flywheel, because it's kind of the evolution cycle of an entrepreneur and where they are. So I'll talk about the different stages, but very, very high level. The first stage is the opportunity, right? It's when I was 24 and I found this opportunity. I had no idea about the food industry, but I started it. And most entrepreneurs start something by opportunity or by accident, or because they see a gap and they know how to fill it and they're just start filling it. So the startup phase is that phase where it's a jump. You start there, but then also you have to test different things. You have to try the market fit. You have to make sure that it's scalable and that it's profitable and prove the concept, right? And then once you prove it, it starts growing and growing and growing. And that's where you evolve to the next stage, which is stage number 2, which is really leadership by design. Because then I realized that once I started growing and growing, I can't do it all by myself. Because as a lot of entrepreneurs, we get into it and you start organizing these events, and then you have to organize 5 events, and then they get bigger and bigger, and then you need more people, right, more vendors, more contractors, more things. But then the reality is, in order to evolve from the stage, when you're in leadership by design, you need to understand what you're good at and what you're not good at. Because a lot of times we start our businesses and we say, well, we need to do all these things. But in reality, if I'm not good at these things, why am I doing this? Somebody else is better than me at this. Exactly. But that takes self-discovery and vulnerability and accepting what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then once you understand, okay, what can I start delegating? What can I start doing? Then you need the right team. So that's stage number 3, which is team by design, which is now you need both the external team that helps you in what you're saying to go through, like us, we're an entrepreneurs organization. It's a peer network, or any people in your industry. This is a peer podcast where everybody can understand and learn from each other because you're all going through the same situations. So it helps you get yourself unstuck. So that's an external team through coaches, mentors, peers. But then internally in your business, in your company, in your team, you got people that you can start delegating things to and that you can trust. And that builds a team that you can support your ideas and they can follow through on those things.
Yeah.
And then that moves to business by design. So startup, leadership, team. Now you go into business, which is setting up the processes, the systems, all the things that so that the business works without you, so that the business is successful in spite of us, right? A lot of times we're the ones that are the bottlenecks. We're the ones that need to make all these decisions, but the business needs to learn how to run without us. Like if we're not there, everything should run smoothly. And then lastly, we go to life by design, where now we have that possibility where we have a proven model, we have the leadership skills, our team and our business that runs without us. And now we can really think about what do we want to be when we grow up? Where should we be spending our time? What's our ideal life and what's our purpose? And that brings us typically back to another opportunity. So that's why I call it a cycle, because then the other opportunity now starts in startup, and now you need a team for that and build a business for that. I call it a flywheel because the first time you go through this process, it's really painful.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's painful. You're trying to go through the process and it's really hard. And you're trying to go through the 5 stages, and every stage you dip and it's hard. But the first time is just your practice round. And then little by little, you get better and better and better. It took me, 7 years to get my first business to $1 million, and 8 months to get my second, and 7 months to get my third to $1 million. So the way you go about it gets easier and easier because now you've gone through it. Now you know what you're looking for. So those are kind of the 5 stages I've seen in different industries and different stories. And I think it applies to most entrepreneurs out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When is the book coming out?
Editor says it'll be done by August. I hope there's not too many revisions. So it will be by fall this year.
Exciting. Can't wait for that. Now, but all the things you mentioned right now, Cesar, one is really struck with me is the vulnerability point. There's a beautiful TED talk from Brené Brown on that topic. And it's really something. And again, meetings and event is an industry with about 80% women. And so it's more considered at the beginning as a female trait that it's okay to be vulnerable and the man has to show they're strong, that nothing happened. Yeah, right. So I remember one day going home years ago. I was coming back from a trade show in Barcelona, came to my house, opened the app and realized that something had happened on our bank account. And that was like the floor opened under my feet. And in your journey, there's a wonderful moment during the class action that you are realizing that you don't know where you're going to go. Yeah. And you decide to be vulnerable with your team. And the results have been phenomenal. You flip everything in 1 year. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. Growing up, my dad was an entrepreneur and leadership. And I think growing up, I always thought that leaders told people what to do. And that's who I was in my first 7 years of business. I would gave direction. This is what we need to do. Everything's fine. I'm an optimist and everything's going to be good. We don't have money, but don't worry. We'll figure it out. We'll find out. So I was always that type of person. But when the class action happened and I really, I took it very personal and I internalized it both in health and mindset. And the company went down for the first time in 8 years. And we had little cash flow and we were paying everything in attorneys. And my health started deteriorating to the point where my knee swelled up and I couldn't walk. I was wheelchair bound. And it was November of 2012. It was Black Friday. And while everybody was out shopping in Black Friday in America, it's the shopping day. I was in a room with an attorney, and I was looking him at the eyes, and we were trying to settle this case. But at that point, I had $0 in my bank account, $0 in my personal account, and $0 in my business account. And that's when I realized, wow, yeah, this isn't working. And the attorney told me, you better you need to change something, settle it now, talk to your team, because if not, you have to close down your business and move back to Venezuela. What are you going to do? And that moment was a moment of realization that it's the way I've been doing things is not the right way. And the next week I had a meeting with my team and I told them, for the first time, I think I told them, and even almost a tear in my eye was, I don't know what to do. You need to help me. And we should all figure this out together. And that's when I realized the power of opening up and being vulnerable with your team, because everybody rallied together. And there's nothing better for a team than a cause. And I think when they all saw me go through that, even my managers were like, hey, why don't we take pay cuts for the next 6 months and we pay each other every other week instead of every week? And how do we manage this? How do we reduce these costs over here? How do we improve sales over there? So everybody started taking ownership. And what I realized, that I was depriving them from not telling them the truth all these years. I was depriving them of the power of knowledge and affecting change, them understanding their part in the vision, them understanding their part in our team. So I think that a lot of times when we pretend everything's okay and we show that mask that we're perfect and everything's okay and the business is in growth and everything's perfect, I think a lot of times we prevent people from really helping us. And opening up opens up the door for people to connect, to relate, to buy in, and to take ownership. So that's what the biggest learning I had around it. And then ever since then, now you know me. Now I share everything. I don't care if it's good, if it's bad. I just make it real. And I think that's one of the things that people want nowadays. I think nowadays is all around authenticity, about being yourself. And people smell inauthenticity miles away from you. So like people want people they can trust, So
I
people
would
do
say
business with the people they trust. Yeah.
say that again.
That people do business with people they trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the authenticity point is something that, as you know, is very dear to my heart as well. And I would say that the majority of people want you to be authentic, and it's fine because it's enough. And there's also a small number of people that want you to be authentic until the moment you start being authentic.
Well, and that's the beauty of vulnerability and authenticity, is when I talk about purpose, we want to be like Apple. Apple, everybody loves Apple. Apple is amazing. Their brand. I hate Apple. I don't identify with anything Apple does. It's not my ground, but that's what you want. You want people to either attract or repel, because Apple is never going to win me over. I think it's now a label that I have, a pride label, that I don't use Apple products. So they will never win me over. If they go backflips and do 1,000 things, I will never like them anyway. So I think that's the same with people and relationships. Is I can be me and I can attract who I want to attract, and I want to be with people who I attract, but I don't want to be people who are turned off about it, right? So that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going to be me, and if you don't like me, then don't be with me, and that's it.
I'm glad this podcast is not sponsored and not sponsored by Apple, because now I just
No, I just gave him a commercial. It's like when I say,
Absolutely.
don't think about a pink elephant. That's the first thing people think about. Right?
Absolutely. And now to finish the story. So you are in this situation during Black Friday, November 2012, right?
Yes.
And then you go back to your team. You're being vulnerable with them. They all came with IDs. You all are, come together for the same cause. What happened 12 months later?
No, 12 months. Oh my God. It was drastic. I was working less 12 months later because everybody just took full ownership. We doubled in profit. We went up like in 40% after falling 30% that year. We went up 40% in sales, and I was working less than ever. I was the happiest I ever was. It was so you know me very well. So it was 2013. That's when I launched my 2 other companies, because I had more and more time. And I'm like, hey, I can do other things because, and that's when I started my 2 other companies. And that's when I realized, I was preventing me and them from growth. So, it was the best decision we ever made. We went through, we implemented 2 systems. One was Great Game of Business by Jack Stack, which is open management, so people can see the books, they can affect the books. Like, we had a person in the kitchen accountable for utilities, a person in the kitchen accountable for inventory, so everybody was accountable for a P&L line item. And then we also did EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is where everybody started taking full accountability, a clear structure, a clear vision, where we're going. So none of this was only in my head anymore. I had voiced it out. Everybody was sharing it. We were all bought in. And that's eventually, 4 or 5 years later, that's why my employees buy the company from me, because they have clarity of where the company is, where the company's going, and what the financials are. So it was an easy transaction. We got an SBA buyout loan, and then boom, they came in and bought the business, because it was clear. There was no secrets.
I love
sometimes
it. Yeah.
sometimes we keep secrets from others, but the reality is that that's information is knowledge. Information is knowledge.
Tell me about it, but that's another story for another time. One of the company you have is actually you also bring more people to help you actually implement EOS model in companies. But how were you exposed to EOS? Because Cesar was not helping companies implementing EOS at that time. So how did you discover traction and the EOS model? And when did you say, you know what, that's exactly what I need for my business?
Yeah. So I heard about it. So I had read Scaling Up, I had read E-Myth, I had read Traction, and I have read all these books coming from the entrepreneur organization. Everybody kept talking about them. And eventually that year I said, we need an operating system in our company. And I went with EOS and Traction because it's the simplest one. It was the one I thought was the easiest to implement for me. And it matched my values and what I wanted for my business. So I started self-implementing in my business. And I did so like for 8 months, and we were doing great. But then I brought in an implementer from Chicago, Todd Smart, and he was with us for 6 months, and then he was able to fine tune and stress test everything. And then that made all the difference. So after 6 months, we were just operating. And what I love about EOS implementers is that we don't come in and we don't become leeches on the organization. We don't tell you what to do. You're the expert in your business. We're here to teach you the system, teach somebody in your company, coach them how to use it, and then we get out of there, right? Mm-hmm. So our job is to come in, teach you the system, teach someone to take it on, and then that's it. So that's one of the things I loved about it, because as a business owner, we get proposed by a lot of consultants, a lot of people, and a lot of different experts that come in and tell us how to do it, and we're like, I've already tried that doesn't work, or I haven't, So what I love about this is that we're the experts on the system. We're not the experts on your business. You're the expert on your business. We just help you with a system to maximize the vision, maximize so that everybody's understand the vision, so that everybody understands transparency, accountability, rhythms, and that team health. So we promote a lot of team health and a lot of, people bringing up issues and solving issues and everybody taking ownership of their roles. So that's really what the system is. So that's how I got involved with it. In 2016 is when I started implementing for other companies, and it's very tied to my purpose. It's tied to helping people and empowering people with proven processes. So that it's very tied to my purpose, and every day I do it with different companies. I love doing it, and ever since I've done probably like 300 sessions with 60 plus companies that have helped implement EOS and Traction, and just the impact is incredible. Companies that start with from 5 people and are now 120 people, and companies. So it depends on what each person's looking for. There's a company, an owner that was stuck in the business all the time, and he resented his business, and now he lives around the world, and he only goes into the business once a quarter. That's with me. We do the planning, and then he leaves back, and then the team is taking care of everything. So EOS helps you get what you want from your business. It's a system that allows you to grab and put the systems in place so that you get what you need.
Can you, especially for I'm putting myself in the shoes of somebody who has never heard of it.
Yeah.
Can you maybe highlight the 2-3 main things in terms of the vision, the team, the meeting rhythm, the rock objectives and everything, so that somebody's listening now would think, that's what I can use it for my business.
Yeah. So if I were to summarize EOS in 3 words, I think I would say real, simple results. Those are the 3 words. The real means not only real in team, but getting people to be authentic. What we were talking about, vulnerability, authenticity. What are the issues? Let's make the real. We create an environment and an environment of reality where people really want to be healthy. They want to be open. They want to be honest. And they want to produce real results, right? So it's all around reality and authenticity. the second thing is a simple piece, which is the thing I like the most about EOS, is that it's a very simple process and operating system that helps you with alignment of vision, with rhythms of meetings and accountabilities and transparency and numbers and dashboards, where you can monitor your business at a very high level, but in a very simple way, and a rhythm of meetings that create simplicity in your business, that don't depend too much on one-to-ones and everybody coming to you for every question and all those things. So the simplicities around the way the vision is indoctrinated and throughout your whole business, so that everybody's rowing on the same direction, the accountability structure, and the healthy teams. And then the results is, it's very focus driven on results. That's one of the things I love about it, is it doesn't have to be perfect. You just start it, and the way you start it, you start practicing, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but little by little you get better and better. And it's based on an agile philosophy of planning, of not doing a whole roadmap of what everything that needs to happen right now. No, it's where do we need to go, and every week we're going to shift and pivot and see where we're going and get there. So the summary, I would say, real simple results.
Got it. Thank you. One of the things I've observed many times with my friends who own their business in the meetings and event industries, first of all, we thrive on unexpected, and it's always happening. A volcano erupt in Iceland, or there's a strike there, whatever it is. But then we are masters of logistics, which is great, which is necessary. In the meantime, if you want to grow your business, you also have to find new clients. So too often what I see, it's this terrible wheel that you have the business owners, they find one or two pieces of business, they hire more people, and then as soon as something happened, instead of letting people manage the unexpected, they jump into it, forget about business development, and 3 months later, oh shoot, I have to find new business. So when you have that, the only way to break it is really have the sense yourself that, okay, I intentionally going to focus on what I do best. And something that I love in EOS, if you can talk about it, is those two essential roles of a visionary and integrator.
Yeah. So one of the things I also love that about this, and that's something that we do on day one of implementation. And this you can read on Traction, the book, or Get a Grip. Those are two great books that also talk about this. But when you talk about, a lot of times as an entrepreneur, we're the ones who have the big ideas, all the relationships of, we build the strategy and we live in the future. And the problem with that is that a lot of times we forget to follow through. We forget to create consistency. We create process and systems. It's not a strong suit. But then EOS brings in a person called the integrator. And the integrator is somebody who lives in the now. It's opposite to the visionary. The visionary lives in the future. The integrator lives in the now. The visionary always thinks about 1,000 ideas a second, 1,000 things that they need to do. The integrator talks about what do we need to follow through and what do we need to focus on in order to deploy these things and build consistency. So the integrator is much more of a project manager type. It's a person who has great follow through, who has great logic, who's a great consensus builder. And the visionary is more living in the future and going through the things that we need to go. The problem in most businesses is that both of these roles is occupied by the owner. And what this creates is a bipolar disorder in the organization, because I read this book and I saw this, I just heard this podcast with Eric and I love this thing. Now I go to my team and I want to take it to them. And then it's like, okay, well, these are all the things that we need to talk about. And then it's okay. And then I go to another conference and I learn from another speaker, what are the conferences that we need to do? And then I come back, it's like, okay, stop everything we've been doing. Let's do this new thing. Let's do this new thing. So now we go up and back and forth, and everybody gets confused because we're not sure of what is the things that we need to do, what is the things that we don't need to do. And then it creates confusion. So EOS does a great job in separating those two factors. One that drives the business forward, that's relationships, future, and then the O1 looking backward, going, what do we need to do now? What do we need to do? So once you separate those figures, it helps a business create stability and growth at the same time, where that dynamic is aligned, but we create 90-day worlds. For every 90 days, we are looking at what are the things we're focusing on. And when the visionary comes in with a new idea, it's like, wait, let's focus on this for 90 days. You'll come to new ideas right after the 90 days. So we plan it for the next quarter, right? So we start living in a 90-day world where we focus on the things we need to focus on, and then we bring in new things, right? So
no more
that's
squirrel.
One of the best dynamics. Yeah.
No more squirrel.
No more squirrel, the shiny object syndrome. Yes.
Absolutely. In all the companies you're helping, what are the main concern that you see, or the main challenges that business owners should be aware of? The first thing that they should think, listen, if I'm about to be successful, if I'm serious about growing my business, these are the 2-3 things that I should completely revisit.
I think it depends on what stage of business you're in, but I think what the issue I see with most of the companies I go into is that it's usually the visionary who wants me in, right? The visionary is like, oh, I heard you would change my business. I heard you would do amazing things. And I tell them up front, the person who's going to be the most discouraged around this process is you. This is a person who's going to be hardest on. And this is something that I see over and over again, because business owners, it's hard for them to let go. It's their baby. It's the way I like to do things. And I like to do it this way and I like to do it that way. But if somebody else comes in and changes the process a little bit, then it's not the right way, right? And in reality, it's better to get it 80% there than to have it 100% done by you, right? So once you start delegating, you start outsourcing and decentralizing the owner, for not everybody coming to decisions to me, but everybody being empowered to make their own decisions. But they're also, they also need to take responsibility for those decisions. So at that point, that's one of the hardest things that I've seen. And that's why I call it the leadership by design in my cycle, because it's that part where as an owner, as the leader of the business or the unit, I need to understand that I need a team to support me. I can't do it all. So the only way to do that is to let go. And I need to focus on what I'm good at, on my superpowers. But if they're not good at those things, then I can't do it. So we need to find the right team for us to be able to delegate. So I think that's the number one thing, is find things that you're great at and find things that you love to do. But then find those things that you're doing that you don't like, but you're the only person that knows how to do it. And that's draining your energy. All of your energy is going to those things that you're like, I have to do this because nobody else can do it. And those are the first things we need to either automate, eliminate, or delegate to someone. Because once you start living in your superpower, then things really start happening, right? So if you're drained and you don't like what you're doing, then your energy is not best spent for your company. So that would be number one, like the number one thing. Number two is measuring. People don't like to measure things. I think people like to hide in chaos, and people like to hide in disorder. And those types of employees are like, what do you do? Oh my God, I do so many things. This is too complicated. Nobody knows what I do. I'm like, okay. But just tell me, what do you do? No, I don't know. It's too much. Every day is a different thing. And there's no way that anybody can do my job. And you can't afford anybody else except me. And I'm like, okay, I understand. But put me in a piece of paper. What do you do? How do you do it? And how do I know if you did the right job or not? Right? What's a number? How can I measure that you did the right? No, that's impossible to do because it depends on everything. So that's the lack of transparency, lack of accountability. Those type of people, which is most companies, they don't want to be held accountable. That's one of the things that I love about the system, is that there is no place to hide. This is very simple. It's out in the open. It's transparent. All the numbers are out there. So let's see if people are performing the way they're supposed to be performing. And if not, we need to have a conversation. But there's no hiding in the backgrounds, no hiding in the lack of numbers or lack of knowledge, and making decisions based on data, not on intuition. Most of us as true entrepreneurs and leaders, we love intuition. No, my gut is telling me to go here, but there's no data, there's no numbers, there's nothing I can really base my logic on. So a lot of times we make those decisions and it could cost us dearly. Yeah. So that's, I guess, the number two, I would say.
That's the first one, obviously, on the list, with automate, eliminate, delegate. The second one is the measure. What about the third one?
I think the third one would be have a good rhythm of accountability, like a good rhythm and meeting rhythms. That's the other thing I love about EOS and Traction is the level 10 meetings. So it's one meeting a week for an hour and a half, and you know everything about the business, right? And at the end, when I was in my business, I worked in my business an hour and a half, which was that meeting. I would go to that meeting. All my leadership team members were there. We would see the business from all perspectives. We would solve problems. We would see the people, the data, all the issues, all the goals, and we would tackle them. Because the reality is that most of us get calls every single hour of the day with questions, with issues, with how do we do this, how do we do that, so that is inefficient. So what I find is that these meeting rhythms help us compartmentalize and put in 1 hour and a half a week all the things that we need to solve, and then after that, everybody go and do what you're supposed to do, and we'll see each other next week, right? So being more efficient with time and compartmentalizing decision making and issues helps a lot in moving that forward. I think a lot of times we're bogged down with emergencies and with communication and 1,000 Slack messages and email messages and calls and people asking things. And how do we systemize a proper channel of communication where we can narrow it all down in an hour and a half, and then the rest of the week is just working, you know? So awesome. That would be the third thing I see most companies really struggle in: death by meetings, in ineffective meetings, in just repeating themselves over and over and not really solving things, and so that kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, number one is learn how to delegate, learn how to decentralize yourself. Number two, it would be
measure.
So measure what doesn't get measured can't get improved, and accountability, a system of accountability. And number three is a communication rhythm that makes it easy for people to really solve problems and go, and then work the rest of the week and not be trapped in the death by meetings.
Awesome. That's great. Great points. One additional question on the meeting rhythm. So you say, level 10, once a week, 90 minutes. Great. How about daily meetings, the daily huddle?
Yeah, so it depends. When I was involved in the weekly only, I'm only at a strategic level.
Right.
But if you're in a tactical level, a lot of times, especially in the event industry, that you have a lot of things that you need to make sure that are happening. Sometimes a start of day meeting or an end of day meeting, a 15-minute, a 10-minute, just check in on what you're doing. Those are more tactical, operational meetings for sure. I highly recommend those. But that's what I'm saying. It's having intentionality of what the meetings are for. So the daily huddles are mostly tactical check-ins. The weekly is about solving problems and understanding where everything is. And then the quarterly and the annual is more around planning and getting to that point, and strategy. Yeah. So it's having the right meeting rhythms and meeting system to prevent all that noise.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's very exciting. And I wish you were passionate about that when you talk about it.
Yeah, so that's the part of being authentic. I'm just passionate about the things I do.
I love it. I love it. And Cesar, I can listen to you for hours. Just for today in our conversation, I'd like to focus my last question really on culture and people. That's to me the two main things, even before numbers and rhythm of meetings or rocks and objective, whatever. Building a culture and the people, that's really what differentiates a good company, that a fabulous company and success. How do you see a business owner role, and what should the business owner think about, whether it's with EOS or other approach, to build the culture on the daily basis and focus on the people?
Yeah, I love that question, because the culture is really owned by the owner. It's owned by the entrepreneur, the leader of the group. They own culture in their teams, because they also have from the cut, and that's the feeling. We want everybody to feel as part of the family. And in reality, culture, many times the values come from the leader, right? The leader is the one who brings the values and makes sure that we can all align and behaviors and the way we need to do things, right?
Absolutely.
I do believe that there's a big distinction between companies that have a culture by design or a culture by default, right? If you intentionally have a culture, you have it well defined, you repeat it constantly, you hire people based on it, you onboard people on it, you review people on it, you fire people based on it, then it creates a culture that is alive and well, and it's by design. If you don't have a culture, if you don't have the values, if you don't repeat them, if it's just what we have, and status quo, and it's by default, and it's a culture that your employees will define for you. So I think that's where, as leaders, we need to define whether we want people we trust and we want people that behave the way we want them to behave and behave the way that we're aligned in purpose and vision and values, or do we want just a place where people come in and it's just whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no intentionality behind it. So one of the things that happens is that most people leave their companies not by pay. Most people leave their companies by, number one, according to Gallup, is their boss, management, and number two, recognition.
Yep.
So when we fail to recognize the people who are living our values, who do a great job, who do these things, and we focus all our attention on the people who don't, that's when our true stars start leaving. Or if we don't focus our attention and we don't correct the people who don't live our values, then people go like, well, if they can get away with it, I don't want to be a part of this place where bad performance is okay.
Absolutely.
So culture is all around what is important truly to the leader, and how do we instill that in a very clear way for our teams.
Fabulous. Cesar, thank you so much. How do people get in touch with you? And is there anything they can already use or learn from what you're doing?
Sure. So at theprofitrecipe.com is our website. And
say that again,
I also,
please?
theprofitrecipe.com. And I also send you a link for a free assessment for people to understand where they are in that entrepreneurial stage. And it'll give them a ton of research and resources based on where they are in that stage, so that they can take the next steps and move and evolve to the next stage.
Awesome. So if people don't find the link in the show notes, then they can send me an email and I'll forward it to you, or they can go on theprofitrecipe.com.
Perfect.
My friend, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again. So I feel like I see you every day now. You and everything. That has been a wonderful conversation, and I'm sure extremely helping for those who are listening. So thank you so much, Cesar.
Thank you, Eric. It was really fun.
Cesar, thank you so much for joining me and for sharing all your expertise. Great point that all people listening can basically start thinking of implementing right now in their own company. So thank you so much. If you want to connect with me, please go on LinkedIn or join my Facebook group at www.eventbusinessformula.com/group, when we discuss everything related to owning and running and growing your business in the meetings and event industry. Thank you.